I'll start with you. They just started turning things around. What a gut punch. And now Sunday night, they're going to have to go against your Steelers. How big of an impact do you think this is going to affect the game?
Well, to me, not much of an impact at all. They were going to lose anyway. That's how I look at it. I mean, hey, they got the perfect excuse to go down. I mean, I wish them in all seriousness nothing but the best. Kevin Stefanski, he's the son of a very dear friend of mine, Ed Stefanski, who was an executive in the NBA for years and still there right now. I wish him nothing but the best. He's done an outstanding job as coach. I hope he and his coaching staff and the players are all safe. In all seriousness, we wish them nothing but the best. I'm dead serious about that, obviously. But from a football perspective, I expected the Browns to lose anyway. And I still expect them to lose. So the way I look at it, the impact is going to be pretty much non-existent because the results are going to be exactly what I expected them to be. The Browns are going into the playoffs after 17 years. They should be happy about that. We wish them nothing but the best. Hope they're safe and healthy. But they are going down Sunday night on the football field.
Well, I feel terrible for the football fans in Cleveland, which is, the dog pound. Like, those guys they started a grassroots movement to get the Cleveland Browns name back, to get a franchise back in Cleveland. When Cleveland, when they up and left and went to Baltimore, who lost their franchise to the Colts, to Indy, not, that long before then. But the point is, those football fans have been through thick and thin, and usually thin, or whatever the bad one is. And they keep showing up and they keep supporting the Browns. And they even got a Browns team back when it was taken away from them. And they've had almost no reason to ever be optimistic. But they finally do now. They got the number 1 overall pick in the draft, who looked for a little while. Is that a bust or no? Oh, okay. It was just too many head coaches too soon. No stability. He got a good one in Stefanski, settled down, and Baker looks like he's on his way. He's at least a solid starting quarterback. And they have an identity. Run the ball, stop the run. And they have receivers Baker can get the ball to. And the Browns have real optimism that they can beat the Steelers. And in fact, I picked them until this news came out to score the upset. And I'm not sure that I'm moving off of that just because of this, because they have even more to play for and to bring them together as a team, which they're going to need. It would be such a monumental thing psychologically and emotionally for the Steelers to realize it's not just the Ravens that we have to deal with in this division. There's another 11-win team. If the Browns can upset the Steelers, the way we even think about that division in the NFL completely changes. I think they have everything to play for, and I'm not going to count them out because they got a bit of bad news, but this is bad news. It makes it more difficult for them to win this game.
Yeah, listen, I think when you look at this is going to be insurmountable. And when you're talking about Stefanski not being there, the distractions throughout the week, we don't even know the players yet. And then, what's going to happen with the contact tracing for other players. I mean, we've seen teams play without a quarterback. We saw the Browns a few weeks ago play without receivers. I mean, this is as bad as it gets as far as trying to prepare for a playoff game. But I'll take it any deeper. Stefanski, first year, missing his first opportunity to coach a playoff game. And as a play caller for Baker Mayfield, helping him, finding rhythm, finding different ways to manufacture offense, which, by the way, they will have to do if they have any chance against the Steelers because they cannot leave their defense on the field. I mean, look, as bad as the Steelers' offensive line has played running the ball and really even in pass rush win efficiency. I know I've had all kind of Steelers fans say, oh, they're not giving up sacks. It's because Roethlisberger gets the ball out of his hand in a second and a half. So, they played one really good quarter of football, the Steelers, against the Colts a few weeks ago, and that showed you how proficient they could be strikes down the field, which we know Cleveland is vulnerable to. So, I think when you look at this is just going to be one of those things they can't overcome. All this hitting them this late in the season or this early in the week of the playoffs. It's just you hate it, man. Because listen, when you get to this point, I don't care what anybody says. Like, the regular season is what it is, but it is when you get to this level of football and you make the playoffs and you have a shot for this kind of thing to tip the scales. I just feel awful for them, for their fans. Man, it's a bummer, man. It just sucks that it's happening.
No question.
For this organization.
It really does, especially how they turn things around. Pittsburgh's already a 5.5-point favorite. This is just a huge blow for them. We'll continue to keep you up to speed on any other news with that COVID situation there. But let's go from some depressing news and let's laugh at Stephen A. It's time now for Stephen's A-List.
Are you ready, Jeff Saturday? Are you ready? It's Stephen's A-List, the top 5 MVP candidates for this season. All right, now that the regular season's over, let's go to number 5 on my list. Give it to me. Stephon.
I think it's the Steelers. I think the Browns really have a chance here, and more than even just the likelihood of it, because Cleveland's run defense has gotten better. And as the season's gone on, Cleveland's really gotten an identity. They're the run-the-ball, stop-the-run team. Stephen A., you could talk about how effective they are against the run, although they're pretty good. They're not amazing, right? But they have an identity. That's who they are. Who are the Steelers? The Steelers, they can play defense, but can they run the ball? Not even a little bit. They can't block for the run at all. They can't run block. And Ben Roethlisberger, I hear people say, I still think he can throw the ball down the field. He just doesn't. Why? Because the line's not giving him enough time for the receivers to get downfield? I don't know. When I've seen him take shots downfield, I don't really like what I see. He gets rid of that ball quick on those short little passes, but when the defense is playing up, if you can't run the ball anyway, right? And that's bad for the run. So I do think the Browns, who have real talent on both sides of the ball and an ascending quarterback, have a good chance to win. But more than that, Stephen A., that would really be an upset. It would be an upset because it would upset the culture. Huh?
No, I said the only reason why. I'm sorry, I thought you was finished. My apologies. That's all. Go ahead. Go ahead and finish.
No, sorry. I'll just say it would upset the culture of the sport, certainly of the AFC North. But the fact that little brother, would come up in the world like that the Steelers look at that division, don't just have to worry about the Ravens, but the Browns too, would be an enormous psychological upset in the world of football. And I think that's the most likely one.
First of all, you need to educate yourself on rivalries because the Cleveland Browns are no little brother of the Pittsburgh Steelers. As a matter of fact, they ain't even family, okay? They ain't members of the family, right? Who the hell are the Cleveland Browns, all right? You know what I'm saying? They're enemies, all right? That's what they're enemies, and the Steelers usually stomp on them, right? They ain't family. So let's get that out the way right now. That's number 1. Number 2, even though I'll give you this, if there's any validity to your argument, it's the fact that it would be an upset in my eyes if the Browns beat the Steelers. I don't think that Tennessee should be labeled an upset if they beat Baltimore. But that's who I'm going with here in terms of picking which team I think is going to win, since people are talking about Lamar Jackson and J.K. Dobbins and the Baltimore Ravens with Harbaugh and all of these boys. I'm thinking about Tennessee. I will remind you, Tennessee already beat the Baltimore Ravens this year. It was an overtime game. Derrick Henry scampers for a 29-yard touchdown run. In overtime, they win that game. He finished the game with 28 carries for 133 yards. But forget all of that, Max. You remember what happened in last year's divisional playoff game in Baltimore when Tennessee showed up there? A guy by the name of Derrick Henry showed up then, too. He ran the ball 30 times that day for 195 yards. I'm talking about right. Baltimore ain't sleeping this week. They ain't sleeping this week. They nervous as hell. They worried because you got that brother to be worried about here. And Ryan Tannehill has played some decent ball. Corey Davis, obviously, last time he showed up against Baltimore, he had over 100 yards receiving. Okay, you still got A.J. Brown, who can ball. Now, Tennessee gives a lot defensively, but in the same breath, they don't always break. They've got a couple of big victories this year, including the one against Baltimore that I mentioned, a split with Indy as well. But the bottom line is this. When you look at Lamar Jackson, he threw for 100 and change against them in the regular season. Last year in the playoffs, he wasn't that impressive throwing the football, which we've both lamented. The reality is that if you are the Baltimore Ravens, at some point you're going to need Lamar Jackson to use that arm to win a playoff game. I think Tennessee should be the favorite in this game. I think they'd be ready. Obviously, Baltimore could win this game, but I'm not picking them to do it.